In the annals of the Roman Empire lies a chapter soaked in fire and shadow where Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor, led Rome through one of its darkest storms, the Marcomannic Wars. From 166 to 180 Anno Domini, raged across the frozen Danube as Germanic tribes, led by the cunning Valamar, stormed the frontier and even reached the gates of Aquileia. But behind the triumphs, carved in marble, are questions Rome never answered. Were these tribes savage invaders or victims of deeper forces? And why do imperial records fall silent when the truth begins to whisper? This is more than history. It is a mystery still waiting to be uncovered. So, if you are ready to question the empire's official story, subscribe now. The truth, like the past, refuses to stay buried. 1. Historical context. Imagine the Roman Empire in the 2nd century, Anno Domini, an unparalleled colossus straddling continents, with its legions marching under crimson standards. From the windswept cliffs of Britannia to the arid reaches of Mesopotamia, at its helm were the 5 good emperors, whose reigns brought a semblance of peace and prosperity rarely matched in history. Rome, during this time, was not just powerful, it was radiant. Marble temples gleamed on Mediterranean skies. Aqueducts brought water to bustling cities, and roads stretched endlessly, binding the empire together like sinews of iron. But even Titans can bleed. In 165 Anno Domini, a silent killer breached Rome's defenses, not through legions, but through trade caravans and merchant ships. The Antonine Plague, likely smallpox, swept through the empire with terrifying speed. Marketplaces that once echoed with laughter fell quiet. In villas and peasant huts alike, entire families vanished. The death toll climbed into the millions. By some estimates, nearly 1 in every 5 Romans perished. Soldiers fell sick in their barracks. Farmers abandoned fields. Towns turned into tombs. And with each death, Rome's might diminished. Its economy shuddered. Its military thinned. And a creeping dread took root. While Rome struggled against this invisible enemy, a very visible threat gathered beyond its northern border. Along the misty banks of the Danube River, the Germanic tribes stirred. Chief among them were the Marcomanni, under the shrewd and battle-tested King Valamar, and their neighbors, the Quadi, nearby. The nomadic Sarmatian Iazyges prowled the steppes on horseback. Roman historians would later dismiss these peoples as mere barbarians, but they were anything but primitive. They were seasoned warriors, fiercely loyal to their kin, hardened by harsh winters and constant warfare. These tribes were under their own pressures. Historians suspect that mass migrations, perhaps from Gothic or early Hunnic peoples pressing westward, disrupted traditional territories, forcing the Marcomanni and their allies into a corner. Their lands grew crowded, their survival uncertain. With few choices left, they turned south toward Rome's rich provinces, weakened and ripe for the taking. In 166 Anno Domini, the dam broke. Valamar led his warriors across the Danube in an organized, determined assault, not a random raid, but an outright invasion. Roman border defenses faltered under the weight of this onslaught. By 169 Anno Domini, the situation was dire. The Germanic coalition had marched deep into Roman territory and laid siege to Aquileia, a major stronghold in northern Italy. It was a chilling moment in Roman history. For the first time since the catastrophic Cimbrian invasion over 2 centuries earlier, foreign invaders set foot on the sacred soil of Italy. Panic gripped the Roman elite. Fear rippled through the countryside. The illusion of invincibility shattered. And amid this storm of plague, panic, and foreign aggression, rose Marcus Aurelius, a man of reason, a philosopher by nature, but one now compelled to become a warrior. His reign would be defined not by peaceful reflection, but by fire, steel, and the desperate struggle to hold a crumbling empire together. 2. Marcus Aurelius. At the heart of the Marcomannic Wars stood a ruler unlike any Rome had ever known, not a conqueror forged in blood, But a philosopher forged in thought, Marcus Aurelius, crowned emperor in 161 Anno Domini, was a student of the Stoics, a man who believed in inner peace amid outer turmoil. While others chased glory, he searched for virtue. His legacy, preserved in Meditations, reads not like a commander's orders, but like the diary of a man, seeking meaning while the world around him unraveled. He never asked for war, but war came anyway. When the empire buckled under the twin forces of plague and barbarian invasion, Marcus set aside the scroll and took up the sword. From 170 to 180 Anno Domini, he traded marble halls for frostbitten camps, leading Rome's legions along the frigid Danube frontier. The elegant robes of a statesman were replaced by the grit and grime of military armor. Far from the quiet chambers of philosophy, he now wrote by torchlight in makeshift tents, his quill scratching parchment as swords clashed outside. Some of the most striking passages in Meditations emerged from this crucible around 171 to 172 Anno Domini. Marcus scribbled his thoughts among the quadi at the Granwa, a stark testament to his surroundings. These were not mere musings of an armchair sage. They were the reflections of a man forced to make impossible choices. Stoicism urged him to accept fate and act with virtue, but virtue in war meant ordering men to their deaths, crushing rebellions, and securing borders through brutal force. These were decisions that surely weighed heavy on a soul built for contemplation, not conquest. And yet, in Meditations, he rarely spoke of the war's cost. No tales of slaughter, no mourning for the fallen. Instead, he wrote, "Do what is necessary, and accept what comes." Was this silence a Stoic's strength or a defense mechanism? Did he bury his doubts behind calm words, crafting a legacy that masked the moral scars of war? By the time Marcus died in 180 Anno Domini at Vindobona, modern-day Vienna, he had spent more than a decade in the field, holding Rome together through one of its darkest storms. His campaigns had pushed the enemy back, stabilized the northern frontier, and preserved the empire, at least for a time. But the cost was immense. The question lingers like smoke after battle. Did the philosopher emperor, so admired for his wisdom, suppress the harshest truths of his reign to protect his ideals? Did he hide the wartime agony, even from himself? His victories are carved in stone. His thoughts are inked in history. But what remains unsaid, the truths buried in the silence between his lines, may reveal the deepest mystery of Marcus Aurelius. Not how he fought, but how he endured. 3. The mysteries of the Marcomannic Wars. The Marcomannic Wars, raging along the windswept Danube from 166 to 180 Anno Domini, are remembered in Roman chronicles as a story of strength and victory. Scrolls like the Historia Augusta recount the triumphs of Rome's legions and the wisdom of Emperor Marcus Aurelius. But beneath the veneer of glory lies a landscape of shadows, questions half answered, truths half told. What secrets were buried beneath the banners of Rome's success, and what silence was traded for the illusion of order. The war's beginning is the first enigma. Roman historians claimed the Marcomanni and Quadi, led by King Balomar, crossed the Danube out of greed and savagery. But was their invasion truly unprovoked? In the 2nd century, the lands beyond Rome were in upheaval. Waves of migrations, perhaps driven by the early Huns or Eastern Gothic tribes, pushed Germanic peoples from their homes. Desperate and displaced, the tribes surged towards Roman territory. Rome, meanwhile, had long meddled in tribal politics, offering bribes to some, betraying others. Could the empire's duplicity have lit the fire it now condemned? The records are careful, almost too careful, in their silence. Then, there is the brutality that followed. From 170 to 175 Anno Domini, Roman retaliation was swift and devastating. Villages were razed, entire communities vanished into chains or were relocated to serve Roman needs. The cost was staggering. not just to the enemy, but to Rome's own soul. And yet, the ancient accounts offer only praise, not pause. No grieving mothers, no burnt earth, no cries in the night, just victory. Was the silence an act of statecraft designed to preserve Marcus Aurelius's image as a wise and gentle ruler? Or had cruelty become so routine it no longer needed mention? Even Rome's so-called allies cloaked deeper mysteries. By 171 Anno Domini, the Vandals and Lacringi bent the knee, while the Quadi suddenly rebelled, installing a new king and tearing up their treaties. What provoked this betrayal? Did Rome push too hard, demanding taxes, conscripts, loyalty bought with threats? Or were the tribes splintered from within, prey to jealous rivalries Rome could not see or chose to ignore? Once again, the scrolls offer only silence where turmoil surely festered. The Antonine Plague, sweeping across the empire from 165 to 180 Anno Domini, adds a darker layer. Still, its death toll crippled Rome's armies. But what of the tribes? Did it not weaken them as well? Sap their strength? Thin their warriors? If so, did disease, not strategy, tilt the war in Rome's favor? And if that is true, why do Roman accounts credit only valor and tactics? What pride was preserved by ignoring fate's invisible hand? And then there is the most haunting mystery of all, Marcus Aurelius's dream of expansion. By 178 Anno Domini, he sought to create two new provinces, Marcomannia and Sarmatia. Roads were laid, forts raised, settlers planted. It was the emperor's boldest vision to tame the wild north and make it Roman. But after his death, in 180 Anno Domini, his son Commodus abandoned the plan without a word. Why were there whispers in the Senate of imperial overstretch? Did the generals protest? Was the cost too high? Or the will too weak? We may never know. The dream vanished, and with it, whatever debates raged behind Rome's marble walls. In the end, the Marcomannic Wars leave us with as many questions as they do monuments. Rome told a story of conquest, but in the gaps between the lines, in the shadows behind the heroes, lies something more complex. History, after all, is written by those with power, and sometimes the most important truths are those left untold. 4. Why do these mysteries exist? Historical bias and lack of documentation. The Marcomannic Wars, a clash of iron and fire along the Danube from 166 to 180 Anno Domini, are immortalized in Roman chronicles as a testament to imperial might. Yet, the shadows of mystery linger, with gaps and silences in the story that beg the question, why do these secrets endure? Why do we know so little about the full truth of this turbulent era? The answers lie not just in what was written, but in who wrote it, what they chose to omit, and what was lost to the ravages of time. First, consider the hands that shape the narrative. Roman historians like Cassius Dio and the authors of the Historia Augusta, writing in the 3rd and 4th centuries, were often scribes in service to the empire's elite. Their pens were guided by loyalty to the imperial court, tasked with glorifying emperors like Marcus Aurelius. They wove tales of heroic victories, celebrating Rome's triumphs over the Marcomanni and Quadi. But the defeats, the early setbacks, from 166 to 169 Anno Domini, when barbarian warbands breached Roman defenses and even besieged Aquileia. These are mentioned only in passing. If at all, the struggles, the losses, the moments when Rome faltered, these were swept aside to polish the emperor's legacy. This bias casts a veil over the truth, leaving us to wonder what failures were buried to preserve Rome's shining image. Then, there is the deafening silence from the other side. The Germanic tribes, Marcomanni, Quadi, and the Sarmatian Iazyges left no written records. Their stories, their motives, their suffering were passed down through oral traditions, whispered in the halls of their wooden strongholds, only to fade with the centuries. Without their voices, we hear only Rome's version of the tale, a one-sided saga that paints the tribes as mere barbarians. What fears drove their invasions? What grievances fueled their defiance? These questions hang unanswered, locked in a past that Rome alone was allowed to narrate. The loss of ancient records deepens the mystery. Time is a relentless thief, and the chaos of history wars, fires, the crumbling of empires has claimed countless documents, parchments, detailing Marcus Aurelius's ambitious plan to forge new provinces, Marcomannia and Sarmatia. After 180, Anno Domini may have been burned in later conflicts or crumbled to dust in forgotten archives. Letters, dispatches, or reports from the Danube frontier could have held clues to the war's untold stories, but they are gone, leaving only fragments. This absence creates a void where speculation fills the gaps left by lost truths. These silences born of bias, missing voices, and vanished records form the heart of the Marcomannic Wars mysteries. Yet, the search for answers continues. Modern scholars and archaeologists are piecing together the puzzle, unearthing clues that challenge the Roman narrative and bring us closer to the hidden truths of this ancient conflict. 5 modern efforts and theories surrounding the mystery. The Marcomannic Wars, fought in the shadow of the Danube from 166 to 180 Anno Domini, left behind a legacy shrouded in mystery for centuries. The Roman narrative stood unchallenged, but today, modern scholars, archaeologists, and even dreamers are peeling back the layers to uncover what Rome left unsaid. Through the dust of ancient ruins and the whispers of speculative minds, we are piecing together the puzzle of this forgotten conflict, seeking truths hidden for nearly 2 millennia. Archaeology has become our window into the past. In the 19th and 20th centuries, excavations at sites like Carnuntum and Vindobona, now Vienna, unearthed remnants of Rome's frontier, crumbling forts, rusted swords, and shattered spearheads tell a story of brutal clashes along the Danube's banks. These discoveries reveal the scale of the Marcomannic Wars, from the sturdy Roman encampments to the scattered relics of Germanic resistance. The Column of Marcus Aurelius, completed in 193 Anno Domini in Rome, stands as a towering testament to victory. Its intricate carvings depicting legionaries crushing their foes, coins from the era, stamped with Marcus's stern visage, proclaim triumphs over the Marcomanni and Quadi. Yet, these artifacts raises many questions as they answer what lies beneath the soil, still waiting to be found, that could rewrite the story. Scholars have ventured beyond the relics, crafting theories to fill the gaps. Some propose the Marcomanni were not mere barbarians, but learned Roman tactics through mercenaries who served in the empire's legions. This could explain their early successes, like the siege of Aquileia in 169 Anno Domini. Others point to the 2nd century's Great Migrations, suggesting tribes like the Goths or early Huns pushed the Marcomanni and Quadi into Rome's borders, driven by desperation rather than greed. These hypotheses, grounded in careful study, challenge the Roman portrayal of savage invaders, hinting at a more complex web of survival and strategy. Then there are the wilder tales, born in the 20th and 21st centuries' fascination with the unknown. Some fringe voices claim the Marcomanni received aid from Parthia, Rome's eastern rival, stirring trouble to weaken the empire. Others spin fantastical yarns of ancient technologies or lost knowledge, tying the wars to myths of hidden civilizations. These ideas, while captivating, crumble under scrutiny, lacking any solid evidence, yet they reflect a timeless human urge to seek deeper meaning in history's shadows, to imagine secrets grander than the truth. Each unearthed relic, each theory, whether sober or sensational, brings us closer to understanding the Marcomannic Wars. They remind us that history is not a closed book, but a living puzzle, its pieces scattered across time. As we sift through the fragments, we uncover not just facts, but the enduring lessons of a conflict that shaped an empire and left mysteries that still beckon us to explore. 6. The significance of the mysteries and lessons from history. As the dust of the Marcomannic Wars settles across the centuries, from 166 to 180 Anno Domini, we are left with more than tales of battles won and lost along the Danube's rugged frontier. The mysteries of this ancient conflict, its hidden causes, unspoken cruelties, and abandoned dreams reveal a profound truth. History is never a finished tale. Each unearthed relic, each unanswered question is a doorway to new perspectives, challenging us to look beyond the polished narratives of Rome's scribes. The Marcomannic Wars, with their shadows of secrecy, teach us that the past is a mosaic, incomplete and ever-shifting, its pieces waiting to be found. At the heart of this saga stands Marcus Aurelius, a figure both revered and enigmatic. Crowned in 161 Anno Domini, he was a philosopher king, guided by Stoic principles of virtue and calm. Yet, for a decade, he traded his quill for a sword, leading legions through frostbitten campaigns against the Marcomanni and Quadi. His meditations, penned in flickering torchlight, speaks of serenity and duty, yet barely mentions the blood-soaked realities of war. Marcus's life was a delicate balance, a dance between the ideals of a thinker and the brutal necessities of a warrior. His legacy is complex. A ruler who sought wisdom amidst chaos, whose triumphs are celebrated but whose struggles remain veiled. Did he hide his doubts to embody stoic resolve? Or did Rome's historians craft a myth of an unflinching hero? His story reminds us that even the greatest figures are human, their choices shaped by the tensions of their time. The lessons of these mysteries stretch far beyond the ancient frontier. History is not a static record, but a living journey, where truth lies in both what is told and what is concealed. The silences in Rome's accounts of defeated legions, ravaged villages, or broken alliances urge us to question the victor's tales. Every artifact unearthed, from the weathered stones of Carnuntum to the carved reliefs of the column of Marcus Aurelius, completed in 193 Anno Domini, adds a fragment to the puzzle. Yet, each discovery sparks new questions, proving that history's depth is boundless. This is our call to action, to dig deeper, to probe the shadows, to challenge the stories handed down. Archaeologists unearth swords and forts, scholars weave theories from scattered clues, and each of us, armed with curiosity, can join the quest. The Marcomannic Wars, with their unanswered riddles, beckon us to explore through research, through questions, through the relentless pursuit of truth. They remind us that history's allure lies in its mysteries, in the stories yet to be told, waiting just beyond the next discovery. 7. Conclusion. The Marcomannic Wars were more than battles. They were crossroads of power, survival, and silence. Behind Rome's victories lay forgotten voices, unanswered questions, and truths carefully buried beneath stone and scroll. Why did the tribes really invade? How much did the plague shape the outcome? And why did Marcus Aurelius's grand vision die with him? These mysteries are not just gaps, they are invitations to question, to explore, to uncover what history tried to hide. If these stories stir your curiosity, do not stop here. Subscribe now and join the journey to unravel history's darkest corners. The past is waiting, and it is far stranger than fiction.